So my guest wasn't able to make it today due to unforeseen circumstances. However, we have a dangerous substitute for today. Um, Welcome, uh, uh, Bill, to the show.
Thank you very much, Dale.
Okay. Could you tell us a brief about who you are and why you're a person to talk about the topic of cloud security?
Thank you very much, Dale, for this opportunity to speak on this particular podcast. Currently, I'm working in a financial institution. Been there for almost 10 years. Personally, I started out on the basic IT help desk kind of level, on the entry level, where we would do the basic installation of computers, making sure the compliance of the particular units that were put in my charge were compliant. Later, I moved to help desk, then networks and network security. And currently, right now, I'm in a sysadmin role where I handle both virtualization and cloud infrastructure of a financial institution. So I have a very good understanding of one uh, what the prior mindset of IT was in the around 2016, 2017, and currently where we are at right now.
Okay, that's interesting. Um, so, according to you, this so since you've been here for over 9 years in terms of this industry of network administration and all that, how has the daily reality of managing IT infrastructure changed for you over the time, and especially with the shift toward the cloud?
Oh, wow, it has changed on so many fronts because currently I'm not sure about in the European and the American and Chinese markets, but currently in Africa, the adoption of virtualization was something that just happened in, if I can say, early 2015 onwards. So we are moving away from the physical kind of control and oversight of security, and now we are moving to the logical. That means now adoption of new technologies, things like virtualization, things like Docker, AI that has currently come up. AI came up around what, 2021? So
Yeah.
currently yeah. So now we are moving currently in a lot of things. Our APIs is something that is also coming in, identity policies, since we are moving kind of in a hybrid setup, where you'll find that Active Directory is on-prem, but you'll find that there are some services that are on the cloud. So with all these technologies that are coming up almost every single 3, 4 years that are coming up, you find that the speed at which these resources, these technologies are coming up, you have to catch up to these technologies, otherwise you'll be left behind. But at the same time, you have to do it at a way that is secure enough to not only protect yourself, but also protect your customers that you're deploying these services to. So I have moved from both the old technologies and also the adoption of the new technologies. So I hope I'm ready enough for this particular talk show.
Yeah. When you first started out in network administration, what was the biggest security misconception you had that practical experience quickly corrected?
Um, First of all, the most important thing is the organization where I was in, it was more of us versus them. So you'll find that, let's say it's the institution versus the enemy contractors. That means Guys like the hackers in China, the hackers in US, the hackers in Iran, all that. So it was more of that kind of mindset. But also there was this camp of why would someone want to hack us? We're not that big enough. We're in Uganda. What do we have in Uganda that is needs to be hacked? So as time progressed, people realized that it's not about the country that you're in or the data that you're in. There are always people that are ready to exploit the kind of data that you have. For you, you may find that the data is inadequate or insequential or something that cannot be looked over. But to another person, someone can easily pinpoint the data that you have and correlate it with the data that is already out there. Things like your email, things like your PIN number, all that. As long as someone gets your TIN number, they can easily correlate your TIN number with a lot of things. But because there's certain data that is out there that consequentially that is out there. Now, like your email is out there because of your email, because of social media sites, kind of like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Your mail is out there. But for someone may not really say that, right, well, there's my Facebook. What is there? There's nothing much to hide. But from your email address, they can get a lot more things like what are you subscribed to? What are you looking at? What are your hobbies? All that. So they can easily pinpoint what you like, what you are doing, all that kind of information. They can easily get that information and turn it against you. One of the other things that I've also learned is in the network kind of side are things like VLANs. That was something really that wasn't looked into earlier on, but as time goes on, people have realized the actual need of network segregation because most times people used to just put everything, let me say, that is related to operations, put in one group. There's no need to do firewall in between that. Things of marketing put in one group, there's no need to segregate that. But now with the vulnerabilities that are coming up and the new threats that are coming up in the IT space, people are now realizing that there is actual need to literally segregate these things so that in case one threat appears or attacks one particular platform, let's say the application space of the network, the marketing side, it does not affect the operations. Let it only affect the applications of marketing, not the database, but only the marketing. But also the actual need of securing things like APIs, internal permissions, compromised credentials, lateral movement from one particular PC to another. These are all things that have kind of manifested in, unfortunately, the downfall of certain particular companies. Now, like recent, not that far back, the SolarWind hack that opened people's eyes to lateral movement of a virus into a network. So these are the things that have now opened up eyes to both the IT people, but also people in the management.
Yeah, that's true. But if we were to look further into that, as a system analyst, you are at
Yes,
the right
please.
intersection for making sure that the systems are highly available, but also highly
Mm,
secure. When companies
yes.
start migrating from on-prem infrastructure to the cloud, what are the most common security blind uh, spots you see?
Oh, wow. There are quite a number of blind spots that are out there. And some of these things are still even emerging. One good example is the API security. You'll find that some people will just upload with uh, uh, solutions kind of like microservices, Kubernetes, Docker, OpenShift. You find that people will upload their APIs to the internet. The challenge with uploading such things is sometimes people forget to hide or obfuscate passwords and usernames. So when they upload such things into the internet, you find that everyone has access to the username and the password of the API. So basically, I can use it like the actual company uses it. And I then now enter your database or your application without literally knowing even how your network and database actually work. Just because I've used a custom-made API, I have the username and the password. Things like identity policies, where one can sit down and decide to rank the particular policies according to identity. There are very many policies that, like in Microsoft, that can easily rank who is more susceptible to attacks than the other, who is more highly vulnerable to attacks, maybe due to password policy or the kind of role they have or the kind of people they interact with. These are kind of things that some platforms like Microsoft, Google, and Amazon offer free advice on how to rank the risk of a particular person vis-a-vis what is out there. But you'll find that because people have deployed these particular platforms and people are working, they don't take certain precautions, or they do not use these particular free services that are offered to them. So you find that someone, as long as things are working, the rest is not my business. But that is not true, because when they leak out the information of the staff, if they leak out the information of the customer, it becomes your business. It becomes part of you. You are working for the company. So I think one of the things that people do not haven't really understood particularly per se is that the data you think that no one can use is something that people can actually use. Um, then also identity. I think identity in every single sense, from things like email and passwords. Yes, much less I know we have social media networks now like LinkedIn, where we have to show off that, oh, we have this particular role, we have these certifications, we are doing this in this particular company. What we forget to think about is that also someone who wants to hack into your company will sit down and find out, okay, who is who. If I need to find out the MD of a particular financial institution or a particular manufacturing solution, I just need to go to LinkedIn and I get all that information from there. And from there, I can start now trying to fish the person or trying to find out more about the person, get the password, all that kind of information. And from there, I can exploit it. Vis-a-vis back then, where we had over 100 companies, but to find out who the MD was, the ED was, the head of IT was, it was very hard because this information was not there. But now with social media and also the move to the cloud, it becomes more and more difficult to secure these particular things because on one hand, we are expected to show off our credentials. We're expected to interact with other people in the world. We're expected to get services from these cloud providers. But on the other hand, we are expected not to tell people that, hey, we're in IT, or hey, we are working for this particular company. So it becomes a delicate balance of trying to figure out, yes, I'm supposed to interact with Amazon, but how much am I supposed to interact with Amazon? Or I'm supposed to interact with Microsoft, but how much am I supposed to open up to Microsoft? Should I tell them that, hey, I have 10 servers on prem, but if I do not tell them how many servers I have, they cannot provide me with that kind of support that I need. So it becomes a very delicate balance of figuring out what should I share with these people vis-a-vis what should I keep to myself.
Yeah, that's interesting. That actually chimes us into the next question, which is if you're talking about access management in a hybrid or a fully cloud environment, managing who has access to what is a nightmare. What are some practical ways a sysadmin can enforce strict identity and access without frustrating the entire workforce?
Now that's a bit tricky because the challenges that we have is the certain security policies that we can take as a company that affect the day-to-day user. An example is putting a password policy of 15 characters. To an ordinary person, they would prefer putting a password of 4 or 5 characters. But when you tell them 15 characters, it becomes a challenge. At the same time, you find that there are certain blind spots that we have, things like OS patches. These are things that can easily be done within us ourselves, keeping the API keys and all that. So it's a bit challenging per se, but it depends on what we call the risk appetite of the company that you're within. There are certain risks, for lack of a better word, that you can easily offload to another company to handle. For example, asset management. But you can easily lease out your laptops. Now, in such a case, in case they steal a laptop, you can easily factory reset from the cloud and then you move on to another laptop. Now, they need to requisition a particular laptop to a particular individual is something that most people overlook, but it's actually needed. Whereas also the need to secure the data that is on the laptop is something that is also overlooked. So you can easily hand over such roles to particular solutions that are well tried, true, and tested. Now, like for example, Microsoft Intune, where you say all company machines should be in this particular policy, where I can sit down when someone's machine is lost or stolen, I format remotely and I move on with life. And I just get that person's kind of thing. But the other uh, blind spot that we have is that you see when you move to the cloud, you're opening up your services to the entire internet, not only to yourself. Before, it was just basically you and your company, but now you're putting something in the public cloud. And the security that is needed for the public cloud is far different from the one that is needed for the local network, for example. So one needs to be on top of their game to figure out what are the latest trends in the security world that is out there. WordPress came out recently with almost there are some two security vulnerabilities right now that don't need much of security expertise to exploit. And the funny thing is, it's just affecting the new releases of WordPress and not the older ones. So these are things that one has to be on board at all times, reading the news, reading bulletins to figure out what exactly is going on in the security space because these things keep changing. Today, you have the most secure operating system, you have the most secure system in the world. Tomorrow, it's the most vulnerable. So, yeah.
That's a tricky thing. But coming from a banking sector, compliance and data protection are non-negotiables. How does strict regulatory compliance change the way we evaluate and configure cloud services compared to the standard enterprise?
First and foremost, by all means, we move with what we call least privilege. We give you the least amount of rights to carry out the particular role you're supposed to do. This is mainly tied not only, it's not tied to the names. Let's say job needs to only do, we don't tie the least privilege to the name. We tie it to the role so that we now know that if everyone is coming as a marketing officer, they're going to have the same rights as job. If everyone is coming to IT, they're going to have the same rights as Peter. If people are coming in operations, they're going to have the same rights as Paul. It's tied to the particular role, not to the name. So that's the first thing that we do. We first find out what is your role and what is the least amount of rights you need to do to carry out this particular role. Second of all, we realize that with the changing need of different things like updates, things like software installations, things like modifications, we realize that the end users are going to need admin access, or the IT staff are going to need admin access on those particular machines. So on such machines, you would rather put what we would call just-in-time access, where someone is allowed to do what they are doing in that particular point in time. Say you want to troubleshoot why a particular software is misbehaving. So you can open it to a semi kind of admin. You open up the laptop or you open up the role to a semi admin point of view just to troubleshoot what the issue is. And then after 5, 10, an hour of troubleshooting, then it reverts back to its normal roles. Reason being, sometimes when we're troubleshooting in IT, sometimes a temporary fix ends up becoming a permanent fix. So just in time access allows us to work within what we have. Yes, you've given someone admin rights, but it's only for 20 minutes. We're just troubleshooting this particular issue, figure out what the problem is, and then we give the person both the rights that they need to activate or to do the work, but at the same time, we allow them back on their normal role. Then things now like two-factor okay, multi-factor, I'd rather say multi-factor authentication. This can be with things like hardware keys, SMS, um, third-party applications like Google Authenticate, Microsoft Authenticate, all that. I know particular end users may be tired and fatigued by these kinds of things where you log in, it asks you for a two-factor authentication, an SMS, you put in the code, then you want to log into another application, it asks you for an SMS and all that. Yeah, it's kind of annoying in a sense, but at the end of the day, even if your password is leaked out, you'd find that having that the two or three factor authentication depending on which system, because nowadays there are certain systems that even push for three-factor authentication where you need to also have a hardware key. Yes, you're having OTPs being sent to your phone, but it also needs a hardware key. Without the hardware key, zero. So you'll find that with such multi-factor levels of authentication, it can be tiring and fatigued, but at the end of the day, security is more paramount than everything. Like the English say, it's better safe than sorry. I think all in all, what I would like to say is that we need to regulate what we call the privilege escalation. Say what a teller does, a manager should not do, and what a manager does, a teller should not do. So we should kind of find a way of one, regulating how the escalation happens, and maybe try and find a way of automating it to prevent the end users from suffering too much. But at the same time, making it kind of seamless so that everyone now knows in case I'm stuck here, I can easily go to person A and B, but also try and make try and educate the end users, the staff that we work with, about the importance of security. Because it's useless to tell people to do multi-factor authentication, but they do not know the reason why. They need to understand the reason why they are doing the multi-factor authentication, why they have a 15-character password, while you're telling them to log into secure Wi-Fi networks. They need to understand the reason why before they actually carry out the actual action. Reason being, once they understand why, they can then appreciate why we are telling them to do that.
Yeah, thank you for that. For our audience, feel free to ask the questions in the comment section. We'll be able to answer them as we go along. Um, On to the next is there is often a disconnect between theoretical cybersecurity policies and the actual daily implementation by the IT operations. How can security teams and sysadmins work better together instead of bumping heads?
Well, compliance is okay. Security, audit, compliance, and risk management. I'm just going to bundle all that. Ideally, in the normal day-to-day sense, those are separate things. When you're talking of risk management of IT, compliance of IT, and audit of IT, those are separate issues. But right now, I'm going to just kind of bundle them for since we're running out, or since I do not want to really go take too much time on this particular topic. Um, Ideally, when you're taking on such things, not only on the new projects that you're taking on, but in the old projects, one, you're not supposed to look at it from a point of view of this is just a one-off issue that I'm supposed to tick off. Say, I ticked off risk management or I ticked off audit last year, so there's no need for me to do it this year. This is something that's supposed to be a continuous and ongoing process. Reason being, again, things change, regulations change, the threats in the cyberspace change. Someone in 2018, if you told them that there was something called AI where you type in any question you want, it will give you an answer. If you told someone in 2018 that, they'll think that you're mad. But currently, when you tell someone that, even someone in P7 can tell you, please, we already know this, we already use this. So this is something that keeps changing. And with that, that means your mindset in both a security point of view and an IT point of view needs to change. So this goes out to all people in IT, both the people who are in the network administration side, cyber administration side, risk, IT, and compliance. Things keep changing. The risks of today are not going to be the risks of tomorrow. The standards of today are not going to be the standards of tomorrow. Currently, in the financial sector, there are about three major standards that we go through. One of the key ones is ISO, another one is PCI. Hello? Dale, can you hear me?
Hello. Bill, can you hear me? I think I got lost along the way.
Dale?
Yes, sorry. Yes, I can hear you. I think I got lost
Sorry
along the
about
way.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
Okay. So on to the next question is misconfiguration in the cloud, like S3 buckets or poorly scoped IAM roles are behind massive breaches. What are your top three non-negotiable checks before deploying a new clouds resource?
Uh, One of the key things from a sysadmin point of view is trying to ensure that the uptime of a system is like 99.99%. But at the same time, from the DevOps point of view and from the business side, you want to deploy these changes as fast as possible because business needs keeps changing on a daily. So one of these things you need to do when you're coming up with this particular kind of policies is one, sit down with the DevOps team and figure out a policy design that works with them as well as works with the current security and sysadmin policies that exist. Because you'll find that if you over restrict, you heighten your security, it's going to affect the DevOps deployment. At the same time, if you loosen the security regulations, data breaches are going to be there. Secondly of all, we need to find a way of automating the enforcement because at the end of the day, there are things that are going to be done with or without your knowledge. Systems are going to change, updates are going to happen. These are things that these are things that cannot be tracked at all times every single time. Someone may say, oh, I need to change maybe the web page, the landing page. You do not know how that particular small change is going to affect the overall security of the particular system. It may be harmless. It may introduce a particular vulnerability that wasn't there before. Then I think the third thing is share the kind of the security standards or the metrics that you use to ensure that, let me say that this particular thing is secure. In all sense, you may never reach 100% secure, but as a team, you may decide our target is 95%. For us to reach 95%, these are the standards that we need to hit. We either make sure that things are remediated to this level, we make sure that the system availabilities is done to this particular level, make sure that your goals align and there's collaboration and all that. Because at the end of the day, when you're deploying a solution, you're not deploying it alone as a solution architect or a sysadmin or a DevOps. You're doing it as a team, both in the security front, DevOps front, solutions front, and also the sysadmin front.
Yeah, that's true. It's a collaboration between multiple people, so you need to understand the logistics behind all that. So, if a severe alert is triggered, now indicating a potential compromise in your cloud environment, what does the first 30 minutes of a sysadmin in incident response look like?
Oh, wow. That is a very loaded question. You're looking at it from there are very many ways to look at it, this particular approach. First and foremost, I think you'd want to narrow down the scope of one who is exposed to the threat. Now, that needs to find out who is this particular person who is exposed. Let's say Peter is exposed. Fine. What is his role in the company? What what are his identities? What kind of controls does he have over the system? Is he a marketing man? Is he a manager? Is he an officer? Is he a supervisor? What access to which systems does he have? So you have to find out exactly what is the scope of the systems that he has. The second issue you try to narrow down on is uh, security, network, perimeter, and exposure. What particular systems does this person have that is exposed to the public? Not like the cloud. What does he have in the cloud that this person exactly accesses? Is it the company website? Is it the email? Is it the applications that are on the cloud? During the 2020s, 2021, Amazon reduced their prices for hosting applications and databases to a point that most companies moved all their applications and databases to the cloud, not knowing they're opening themselves up to a multitude of attacks from all areas. You realize that if I'm to have an application within the company, say the system for the security system of biometrics, it's within the company, it's not exposed out. So that means there's limited points of entry or limited attack angles or patterns. Whereas when I put it into the cloud and I put it in Amazon, I put it in Azure, I put it in the Google Cloud platform, you find that anyone can attack it. Someone in Russia can attack it, someone in Iran can attack it, someone in US can attack it from their home without necessarily leaving. Whereas if it's localized, I need to physically come into the company, enter into the data center or the security center, then put in my device, and then I start having access. So that is also another thing, the network security and exposure. The third thing is, what is your encryption level and logging state? Is everything encrypted? Because there are certain things where we can send passwords and API keys in plain text where anyone can read it. Or is it encrypted? And to what level is it encrypted? Just because it's encrypted, these keys keep being broken every single day that we're in the technology leaps. So you'll find that something that was very secure yesterday to now today it can easily be cracked. Things like are you using dedicated KMS keys? Are you logging this particular information? Because now if you have systems now like SIEM, security information and event management, these are things that can easily pick up on unusual patterns of the way someone works. So if someone usually works between 8 to 5 and they log again at midnight, a system like SIM can easily flag it and inform the entire security team to take action in advance, either cut off the person's access to all systems, and then you try to figure out why is the person who usually works during morning hours logging in at night, or why is someone who is usually working at night logging into a system during morning hours. Why are they trying to access systems that they don't usually access? These are things that system can, sorry, these are things that SIEM can help you with because as the time goes, as we're entering into these days, we're going to enter into more and more systems. So you'll find that a company, an enterprise level company, before you used to handle 5, 6 systems, now you're going to handle over 10, 15, 30, 40 different systems at a go. And without having an automated logging and flagging system like SIEMs, or having encryption keys being sent back and forth, you'll find that one API is talking to almost 7 different systems. Now, without having encryption strengthened at such a level, you find that your communications is literally sent in plain text over the entire internet. So these are things that you need to check at on a fundamental level in case you find there's a breach into your company.
That's indeed a very loaded answer, which gives a clear picture of exactly how the situation is. And yeah, I think it's very key to first understand what a person's role is and the level of damage that person can cause based on the role, and then you now do the rest also. Uh, for the junior system administrator listening to you right now, who wants to actually reach this level, um, what are those key things that you would want them to master at this level?
Okay, currently one, get the fundamentals of what you're working with. Is it Linux? Is it Windows? Um, is it Mac OS? Find out what your company is working with and get to know the day-to-day details of what exactly you're doing. Second of all, right now, as we are moving into the cloud engineering, the cloud kind of setup, it varies a lot. Now you'll find a company that decides we're going to do in-house. Now, when you're both in-house and cloud, you'll have to learn what we call infrastructure as code. There are different things that are there in infrastructure as code. We have things like Ansible, Python, Bash scripting. We have Terraform. You need to learn these particular things when you're trying to deploy certain particular solutions in the cloud. Because back then it used to be a server for every solution. You want a website, that's a server. You want a database, that's a different server. You want this, you want an application, that's a different server. But right now we are moving into now infrastructure as code. The third would be the key frameworks. What are you in? If you're in medical field, HIPAA would be the best framework you'd look at. Um, you're in data governance, try and figure out what particular like what are the particular laws around the particular industry that you're in. You find that the central bank has different regulations from the manufacturing. You'll find that the guys who are in manufacturing do not need to uh, have the same regulations as guys who are in advertising. So understand the frameworks that you're in, and much as there are different frameworks, because currently there are three different regions in the world that are giving up these frameworks. The key people are US, Europe, and I think China. The others that are like Germany, okay, there are those micro kind of like Germany, France, Australia that are giving out these. But the basic frameworks that are out there, you can either go to the EU, that's Europe, China, and America. And what I advise people to go to is go for the most strict one that is available in that particular field that you're in. Reason being, it will give you a little bit of leeway. Another benchmark you can use for understanding the data protection and maybe security hardening is CIS. CIS is is a particular, I wouldn't really call it free, but it's a platform where they can give you standards of hardening, because all these particular operating systems that come out with different vulnerabilities every time they open up. Yes, they come up with different solutions. Say Linux, the newer version may allow you to connect to the Windows or Active Directory, but that comes with vulnerabilities. Or they may decide to release a particular solution like Kubernetes to use, but that also comes up with vulnerabilities. Now, with platforms like CIS, they give you ways of hardening the particular operating systems so that one can try to mitigate the damage. Again, like I said, sometimes prevention is better than cure. You'd rather be armed and ready for a disaster before it actually strikes.
Yes, thank you for that. As we are drawing towards the end of the show, I would like to first thank you for coming on short note, yeah, in a short notice, and definitely our audience has picked something here and there concerning how best to operate. And finally, to close, is what's one of the cybersecurity trends or threats on the horizon that you think isn't getting enough attention?
One, okay, there are two basic ones that can let you go of. One is what we call non-human identity management and then API store. So we can secure a personal account into a company or an enterprise level security. We can secure that. The challenge that we have currently is that certain times we might have what we call service accounts, where we have accounts that are specifically for particular services, let's say web services. How much are we securing those particular accounts? How much are we changing the passwords for those particular accounts? Do we have multi-factor authentication for these particular services? How often do we change the API keys? These are things that we rarely uh, usually change or check. Reason being, in IT, we have a saying, if it works, leave it. But the challenge is, if it works and it is not changed for a long time, the other guy who's guessing, the hacker, will end up trying and trying until he'll land on something. Because what we don't realize is the guys out there who are trying to access the information we have, they're not sleeping. So much as someone may be in, and these people actually interact with each other. They share where they have gone wrong, they share where they are falling short, and they share this information within themselves, and we do not know. But for us, we are thinking, oh, we are secure, everything is good. They're sharing information. We do not know it. And by the time we open our eyes, these guys have sat down, shared information, seen what has worked, seen what has failed, and then they come up with an optimum solution in order to enter into or breach into the systems. So APIs is something that we rarely look into. It's something that we never update or secure more because we fear the application or the business downtime, which is again understandable because in everything that we do, IT is put there mainly for business. IT without business is just it's nothing. But again, business without IT is again too manual and it's nothing. So we have to balance that too. That we yes, we balance the uptime in all the resources and everything, but at the same time we also try as much as possible to secure the systems as best as we can. The second thing is multi-factor authentications. I know people get tired of multi-factor authentications and typing in these tokens and all that, but this is something that is really needed. Passwords can always be exploited, but even if your password leaks by one way or another, either you left a notebook with your password behind or it got cracked, the multi-factor authentication level is meant to be the last line of defense. Now, without deploying such tools that are there, you've basically opened yourself up to a wide range of attacks because your password can leak. It can always leak. It can be either uh, because you've either changed one or two characters in your password, or you used your daughter's name and or your birthday as your password. These are things that can easily be cracked. Now that we are having the emergence of supercomputers of sorts, where even if you have a 24, 38, 50 character password, it can easily be cracked. Now, the other level of authentication that we have now is things like passkeys and passwords. sorry, and multi-factor authentication. So these are things that we need to keep uh, educating people about. Tell them, please, it's not about making your life difficult, but it's about securing you, because securing securing both the people who think their passwords are not clickable, like the officers and the one inches down there, as well as non-human identities like service accounts, is something that is major and we need to keep pushing forward.
Thank you for that. Thank you for coming on the show. Um, Finally, if you are interested in people following you and also getting to know what you're working on, you can share with us where people can find you and people can get to know what you're working on.
Oh wow, I'm working on a lot of things. Ideally, I'm not into social media and all that,
Mm.
but I'm still working on a lot of things, both in the financial institution side, manufacturing side, and security. So I'm dabbing in a lot of those things. I'll share with you my email address to reach me onto, and then we can sit down and collaborate on certain things.
Okay, thank you. And we'll see you on